Hello and welcome to today's stream. Let me quickly switch to Blender. Wait. Oh no. Now you should see something, right? No. Ah, now you're seeing something. So today we'll go over some simulation stuff. So I will start talking about some particle simulations, and later on I will go over smoke and fire simulations. So let's start by doing some particle stuff. So particle simulations are basically the most easy simulation to start with. So you'll need some kind of emitter to emit particles from, so I will just choose a plane. And let me quickly turn on the music a bit. Not completely. Maybe like this. So you'll need some kind of emitter. I'm just using a plane. And then you'll need to go into the Particles tab and choose New. So now you have a new particle system, and if you just press Alt-A, wait, let me quickly enable screencast keys so you can see what I'm doing. You will see that particles are being emitted, and then gravity just pulls in and, well, they basically fall down. So I think I'm gonna import a short clip to show you how you could use it in a better way. We just disable everything and enable base velo. So okay, now we have our POV model right here. I think in this short clip, I mainly use this for testing, so there's not a real shot in there, but we could pretend there is one. So you would probably want your particles to be emitted from the gun in some way. So what I do is I select the plane, or whatever object I'm using, and I'm firstly editing it so that it matches it, so that it has the form I want and the effects I want. So first let me quickly go into the modifiers tab, and below the particle system I will add a subdivision surface. This will just subdivide it, if like you can see here, and I will probably use 2 subdivisions, that will be enough. And I will apply this one. So you can see now if you go into edit mode using tab or just clicking here, we will have much more geometry than just one single plane. So I think I will subdivide it once more. And now I will just take the vertex here in the middle, and you can turn on connected down here, which will enable proportional editing. And then I will pull this down just a little bit, so you get that really not that hard effect of a satellite dish. And then I will just scale everything down a bit, like so, and apply the scale so that the main object is always scaled equally. And then I will somehow have to get it at a gun. So I will just add and use object constraint for that. Wait, let me select it again. And object, you can apply object constraints in this tab. So you just add a copy location and copy rotation, and select some kind of object where you want this plane to stay at. So we for every bone in IW3D we have an empty, which is there. You can actually show it if you enable the skeletons for the gun. So if I focus on the gun, you can see that there's one empty here in the front, which is the flash, and I will mostly use the flash of the gun to constrain my plane to. So let me disable that again and switch to the plane. So now I will go into target and just type in tag underscore flash, and you will see that the xempty automatically pops up. If there are multiple xempties, just select the one which has the name of the POV player in it. So now you can see it's gone. I will also quickly select the tag of the for the rotation. So now if I go into the camera, you can see that it's bound to this empty. So it's still a little big, so I will just go into edit mode and scale it down again. just like so. I think that will work for now. So yeah, devastated, I'm German, sorry. My English isn't that good. So just scale it down a little bit more, like so. And I will also put down the neo clipping. And now I will move it a little to the front. So when pressing strong or shift while moving, you can like move it in not freely, but in little stages. But for this, it's not really that useful. So I will just position it right here. And you can see that the bone's not always that centered. So I will also move it a little like in that direction. Yeah, I think that's okay. So we also need to rotate it. So I'm just pressing R to rotate, and then 2 times Y to rotate along the local Y axis. And then I will just type in 90, and it will be rotated. So now just apply the scale once again. And now we can see, if we go into first person, not really, but we can see that we have some really shit particles that are just falling down. So in the release video, we had that one effect with the M4, where the particles were just flowing around. So we can first try to redo this. So to do that, just go into the particles tab, and to see this particle system that I just created, you will also need to select the emitter object. So if I now select a deagle or something, there won't be a particle system on that. So let me select the plane again, and I will also rename it to emitter, so that I have more control over everything. So to have my particles like fly just straight and not fall down, I will get down to force field settings. No, field weights. It's field weights, and I will just disable gravity completely. So now you can see that the particles are still falling down for some weird reason, but we can fix it. So we also need a little more velocity, so I will just go to the velocity settings, and here you can see normal is turned to 1. So particles emitted from that surface are emitted in the normal direction, which is in this direction, and with a velocity of 1. So I will just crank it up to 5, and now we should see particles flying straight. Yeah, okay, they're just falling down because he's holding the gun down, so we can't really do something about that. But you can see like some particles are now flying out of the gun, and you can also change the time frame. So for example, I could also just start it at 20 and also end the particle emission at like 40. So now if we play again, you will see much more particles coming out of the gun, because the same number of particles is emitted in a much shorter time frame. So for now, I think I will set them to 1 on and 3 to create a small burst effect. So if we look at it, there's like this burst effect of particles. And it's not looking that great, but you know, we haven't done that much. So another thing you can do to, if you look at it right now, it's really not that random or something. It's just, you can clearly see the lines of particles here. So to change that up a bit, I will just Shift A to add something, and I will just add a force field. So I will choose a turbulence force field just to add some random noise, and to take so that the particle system is affected by those force fields, it needs to be on the same layer. So if I will take that and move it to layer 2, it wouldn't work. That's one thing we struggled sometimes with. So now I will just go into the force field settings of that force field, which are located here. No, here, under the physics steps, sorry. So here we have like a strength, size, and a flow. And for now, I will just crank the strength up to see how it looks and where the noise is going. So if I now play this, you will see they start fluttering around a bit. But for me, the scale is too high at the moment, so I will put it to 0.01. And you can see they scatter around a lot more. I think it's a little too much, so I will probably put it to 0.05 or something. Yeah, that looks okay for me. And I think it would be also better if we had some kind of orientation. So I don't know if I have this map exported. I will for now just add a plane so that we have some ground. Like this. So now we can see that our particles are still like flying into the ground. So to fix something like this, we could, for example, add a wind force field and grab it and put it below the particles. And I think I will scale it up a bit. Put it around here. And I will also pull up the strength a bit. And let's see this again. And now we can see they're flying up way too much, so put it on 1 or something. And now we can see that nice particle effect that I wanted. So just scattering around a bit. And yeah. So here you have your basic particles. To further edit them, we would probably want to render them in some way. So if you go into the particle system settings again, you can, by the way, really play around with these. There are really awesome things you can do with it. For example, I will just decrease the lifetime a bit, like to 40, and also enable random so that they won't disappear all at the same time. And now you can see that they're scattering with time and they're just disappearing with time. So yeah, and you can also emit from the vertices. I'm just emitting from the faces because it's the easiest, and from the volume. Yeah, don't know. So yeah, so I will go to the render settings to make them look like something, because now at this point in time, if we just quickly put in HDR and enable rendered, we will see nothing. Like there are no particles at all. So to change this, I will go into another layer and focus at the center. And I will just add an icosphere for now. And we want these icospheres to be our particles, so that we have some faces where we can emit light from, or some faces which will be rendered. So there will be really a lot of these icospheres. So for that, I will just turn the subdivisions down to 1, so that we don't have that much geometry in our scene. And I can also make them not that small, but like that small, because we don't need that large particles. So Now, if we go back to the first layer and we select the particle system again, we can go under the render tab, select object, and select the icosphere as a duplicate object. And I will rename that to particle. So now we have our particles, and they still look kind of the same, so I will do two things to change it up a bit. Firstly, I will enable rotation and random. So now you should see that they are not all rotated in the same direction. And I will also add a little bit of random size. So now you can see some of them are smaller than the others. And now let's look how they look rendered. And let me also quickly save it. So we go into rendered view, we still can't really see them, but that's just because they are... Oh no, we are at frame 1, that's because of that. Let me quickly go to this frame and then type rendered. So yeah, now we can see little white particles, but I don't think that's really what we want. So let me quickly make a rough material for the floor. So I will just make a new one and probably enable... Oh no, that was compositing. Yeah, use nodes. Add a principled shader. Make it gray. And specularity. Oh, not that much. Probably something like this would be fine for now. A little bit rough, probably. So yeah. So now to make these particles look cool, we just need to select the emitter object and add a material to that. So I will add a new material. And this time, because I want kind of glowing particles... Oh no, sorry, I've selected the emitter. I actually meant to select the particle. So, because I want glowing particles, I will just choose an emission shader. That's this one. And if I plug that in, you can see that they are not really glowing, but they're white. So I will change the color to something bluish. And put up the strength to like 100. So now you can already see that they're emitting light, and you can already see the light in the reflection of the floor. So to finish the particles up, I will probably add some glow, and also I will probably don't use an HDR, or at least not one that's so bright. Let me quickly change it up to like evening. Yeah, that looks a lot better. So firstly, to render them correctly, you can also, or to not always take your CPU power into rendering this particle simulation, you can also go into the emitter under the particle system settings and select cache and bake. This will bake the particles, so you can see the thing here right down here is always red. So in this frame, the particles are baked, and I can now not change any of the settings. They're grayed out. And the other thing I will do is render a single frame. So that won't take that long, I hope. So now it's rendered, and I can just add some post-processing. So I've already showed you in the last tutorial that there are like this materials tab with the world material and the object material, but there's also this compositing tab. So just click on the compositing and use nodes. And now you should see that if I disconnect that, we won't have an image anymore. That's because now we have like a node-based post-processing editor. So first I will just take a glare node, which is some kind of glow, and put it in here and in here. And I will put the mix up to 1 to just isolate the glow. And that's not really the type of glow I want, because I want more of an fog glow. So like this. And you can also change the quality to high. Won't make that much of a difference in my opinion, but yeah. And now you can also adjust the threshold, so if I pull it all the way down, and let me change it to medium again. Yeah, now you can see that also the sky is in this threshold range, so I don't know, maybe a little bit, but not too much. And I will crank the size down because I want to control it in some other way, which is using a blur node. So I will search for blur and connect it here. And I will change it to fast Gaussian and also enable relative, which is really important because otherwise it will just be in pixels. So if you, for example, change your resolution to 150%, your glow won't look the same. So always keep that in mind and put it to relative. And now I will add like 1% of glow or blur. It's maybe a little much. So 0.5 maybe. Yeah, that looks fine for me. So now to get the original image back, I will just get everything down. And can I actually... No, I can't. And add a image mix node. And connect it right here. So now I will connect the original image at the top and the blurred glow at the bottom. And I will change it to add. And now we have these nice glowing particles. That's before, and I think I will put it to 0.5 to get this nice glow effect. So we could render this out, but it would take way too long. So here's like how you get some basic particles. Okay. So anybody having any questions about particles? Or anything I should change? Okay, then I will just go on. So next thing I plan to do is a little fire and smoke simulation. And we can actually hopefully just use the particles we just created, because the most used way to create fire and smoke is also by emitting it from particles. So, or maybe we'll do everything over again, so it's a little more organized. So let me open up a new scene and save it. So I don't have like a demo where I could really show it, so I will just simulate it in a small box. So for everything which has to do with smoke and fire, also apparently for water, but we will probably talk about that in a different video or stream, we will need a domain. So I will just add a cube in here, and to see inside the domain, because I will probably want that, I will go to the mesh tab, no, to the object tab, and under display you can change the maximum draw type to wire. So now that we have that, we will want to position it so that we have the least area inside that cube that we need. That's just because we will later have a value called divisions, which will pretty much determine how good our smoke looks, and it's relative to the size of the cube. So if we would just think, yeah, okay, I need like fire everywhere, I will just take this domain and scale it like this, we would have fire everywhere, but it would look pretty shit. So yeah, so I will just scale it down like it was and move it up a bit, and I will try to redo the shot we made in the release video. So I will scale it up into the X direction a little bit and into, oh, I've changed my keyboard to English, into the Z direction. So now we have this domain, and I will add an emitter so that we can emit some fire and some smoke. I will just use the same technique as last time. I will just use a plane, subdivide it a few times, apply that, then get it down, and now I will just move it like here, and this would be the point where your gun would normally be at. So I will rotate this and move it inside of the domain like this. I think I will also move it down a little bit. Yeah. So now I'll add the particle system, and I will also disable gravity like last time. So now we can see that the particles are emitting in the wrong direction. That means we have to turn it around and apply the scale, and yeah, now we should see the particles emit in the right direction. And again, I will just add in a little bit of variation by taking this and enabling connected and just adding a little bulge to the plane. And that's probably too much, like this. That will be enough. So play the scale again, and now we can already see that the particles are moving a little more. But yeah, because we want like a shot effect, we will change the particle emission from 1 to frame 200 to 1 to frame 3 maybe. So now you will see one solid block of particles. And I will also decrease the number to something like 500 probably, and put in random lifetime, and I think I'll leave it at 50 for now. Well, no, I will turn it down to 5 or something, just because I will increase the emitter velocity drastically, so I will turn it to 5. And now you can see like that flash effect I was talking about. So yeah, that looks much more like something you would use for a shot. I will still increase it a little bit. I think it's too low. Yeah, more like this. So now we can pretty much start with the smoke sim. So we have our particles here, which will emit the fire and the smoke. We have our domain here, which should be always around it. And for that, we will start enabling physics settings. So you will need to go to the physics tab right here and enable smoke. And like I said, this is the domain object, so select domain. And we will leave all the settings at default for now. So next, select the emitter, so the object that is emitting the particles. And also select smoke, but this time select flow. And I don't just want some smoke coming out of my gun, so I will select fire plus smoke. And now if we just play this, we will see some pretty shit looking fire, and that's because we have the mesh selected as a flow source. So I will change that to particle system and select our particle system. And now we should see something really ugly. So to make that look better, we pretty much have to increase the resolution, but it will also take longer to bake. So you can already see I can't run this at fluent 24 FPS. It's dropping frames like crazy. So don't put this value too high. I think I once put it to like 256 and it completely crashed my PC when baking. So yeah, just keep in mind that this pulls a really large amount of memory, and it also writes a really large amount of files to your hard drive because it needs to cache it somehow. So yeah. For now, I think I will also just put a little higher emitter geometry. Yeah, so we get a longer flame. And I will also add a turbulence force field once again, so just to get some variation in. And I will also enable the flow. That's like some kind of airflow. I don't really know how it works, but you can just experiment around with it. You will see. And I will decrease the size to 0.05. So now if we play it, we still see the particles flying pretty straight. So let me quickly disable the domain. So I just disabled the visibility so we don't see that fire again and we can just look at the particles. Because they're still flying pretty much in a line. So I will increase this to 10. Still. Maybe the size is too low now. Still not really affecting them. Did I turn down something which was wrong? No, I just turned down gravity, so... One thing we could probably also do is add a little bit of random emission velocity. So like 1. Or already looks better. Yeah, no. Now we're getting the effect I wanted. So you can also split the particles up a little more with using this random value right there. And I will decrease the lifetime once again, like to 3. And put the velocity up once again. Just to get a more even distribution, because now we have like this long strip. And that's probably more what we want. So now I will reset it because it will probably affect smoke. So now we just now we can enable the domain again, and we will see some kind of a fireball, which is in the moment it's like there for like 10 frames, which is not really like a muzzle flash. So to make it disappear quicker, I will go into the emitter, and I think I will. No, it's not the flame rate. It's more. Oh no, it's under the domain settings. So in your cube, we'll quickly rename this to domain, and this to emitter. And here it's under the smoke flames section. Yeah. So we can change up the speed. So we at the moment we want it to burn quicker, so I will just change it to 1.5. And look at that. It's still not fast enough, so maybe like 5. Or 4 is the max value for that. But that looks already a lot better. If we look at it now, it's still really blocky, I know, but that's just because of the subdivisions, and I want to work pretty fast now and not wait for it to bake like years. So now it's looking okay. So I think I will increase them, and I don't just want to play this, so I will go into the cache tab once again and just bake it. And now you can see that it's baking here at the top. Yeah. So it's finished now, and now if we play it, you can see that the particle range is way too low, so we need to change that up. That's also one thing you will only see if you will bake it at your end resolution, kind of. So for that, I will go into the emitter settings and set the size to something like 2. What you could also do is, I think I will try that this time. I will increase it to 1.5, and I will also increase the number of particles. So to 1500 maybe. And just so you guys don't have to wait again that long, I will freeze this and decrease it to like 70. So that you don't have to wait that long. And you can also bake all simulations in the scene at once, so it will also bake the particles if I click on bake all dynamics. Oh, did I not talk for the last few seconds? Sorry, I think I forgot to unmute myself. So that's pretty bad. I'm sorry for that. But basically what I did was increase the size of the particles, so the size of the fire the particles were emitting, and also decreasing the size of the domain by placing my 3D cursor right here. So that it will look better now, because, like I said, the subdivisions are relative, and now they will affect a smaller domain. So yeah, needs some time. So now we can see the particles are still, or it still looks a little blocky, but we can later fix it by enabling high resolution, and I mostly just leave it at the default settings, but if I would enable this now, it would like subdivide everything, and it would take like 10 minutes or something, so I won't enable it for now. Yeah, so you can tweak a lot of different things here. I won't show you everything, but like I said, the fire is emitted from the particles, so you can already change a lot with your particle system. And also, the fire itself, you can change some settings about how fast the smoke disappears and how fast it gets up. All kinds of settings. Just do something creative with it, and yeah. I won't be able to tell you everything. What I will tell you now is I will show you how to make some materials for that. Because, once again, if we save it and go into rendered mode, we will just see a cube, and that's because we haven't changed the domain object, or the material of the domain object. So let's do that right now. So I will once again pull up a window, change it to node editor, select the domain, and create a new material. And also use nodes. Oh no, use nodes here. So by default, you know you will just have your diffuse shader deleted. And now we don't want any kind of surface material, so like the surface of the cube. So we will just leave that input here free, but we will need some kind of volume input. And the shaders you can use for volume are the emission shader. Also, how is this called? Scatter, volume scatter, and volume absorption. So we will take these three shaders, and we will just add them all together. So we will take 2 add shaders. That's our basic smoke and fire node setup. So for the fire, we will use the emission node, and for the smoke, we will use the 2 volume scatter nodes. So I will connect these up and add the emission. And also, don't be stupid like me and connect it actually to the volume and not to the surface. So now we need some kind of way to know where the fire is and also where the smoke is. So for that, there are attribute nodes in Blender. And you will have to enter specific strings in here. So for smoke, it's just density. And I've changed my layout again. And for fire, it's just another one. Flame is that, if I remember correctly. There are also some other ones, but we don't really need them. So I will just move them down here. And to better control these values, I will always put a color ramp. And also for the density multiply node. So it's a math node on multiply. Multiply. And I will also need another color ramp to determine the color of the fire. So that will go in here. That will go in here, and here we will take the flame as an input. And for the smoke, we will use the density, put it into the color ramp, put that into the multiply node, and put that into both densities. And we will also need a smoke color, and to control both colors basically at once, I will just add an RGB input. So I like my smoke when it's pretty dark, so I will turn it down. And we can also pretty much turn on rendered mode to see what's actually happening. And now we can see it's just like some weird smoke, some part of it is glowing, it's not really looking like anything. And let me also disable the background. So yeah, you can see some parts of it are glowing, some other parts of it are scattering the light. So first I will probably do the coloring, so I will... Oh, it's lagging. Yeah, like previewing while also working on a material can really lag your Blender. So I will probably put the max samples to 32, so that after that it will go fluently. So I will also use the flame for this here. It's like our color input or our heat input. Let me turn it down a little bit more. So this will be our flame color range. So on the outside of the flame it's mostly not that hot, so I will use something like an orange for that. And you can add new points by clicking on the plus. And for here I will probably use something like an orange. And I don't really know. I think I don't really need that one. I will just turn that on. Oh no, I will take one more. And turn that to some kind of yellow. And at the moment it looks shit, I know. But that's mostly because we didn't increase the strength enough, so let me duplicate the multiply node. Oh god, it moved everything. So let me fix that. So I've just put a multiply node here, and I will increase the strength by like 100, and now you can look at now you can see it looks more like fire. I think I can increase it a little more. And also, if the middle part isn't looking white for you, it's probably because you have different color management settings. We always use the filmic settings because they, for our sense, they look the best. So I think by default it's on default, yeah. And now we can see it pulls a lot of detail out of it. So if I put it on filmic, you can see it has a lot less contrast, so you can probably do some CC on it afterwards. Yeah, but we mostly just like it more that way. So you can probably increase it to 200. Yeah, doesn't make that big of a difference. Now for the smoke, you can barely see it. I think you can see it scattering a little bit here, but you can't really see it. So I will just increase this density multiplier by 200, or maybe also like 350. And I will enable the background again to get some light on my smoke. And let me select a frame where it actually gets up. So yeah, that looks really, really dark. Let me quickly enable Pro Lighting Skies. So yeah, now you can see it a little better. So now you can see the smoke. And it's pretty dense right now, so let me turn it down a little bit. Maybe to just like to 100. And one thing I also really like about smoke is when it has a high contrast, so I will just take that right slider and put it all the way down to get these really hard edges. If you're rendering just with density without any subdivisions, like you probably should, it will always look like Minecraft because you can clearly see these blocky things here. But once you will put on the high resolution of the smoke, it will pretty much round up all of that, and it will take a while to render or to bake, but it will look much better that way. So let's also change back, and you can see now that the smoke is applied. The light isn't coming through that much anymore. So let's increase it like to 2000. Maybe also to 5000. Yeah, now it's looking more like fire. And yeah, it's still looking really blocky for the reasons I said. But you can probably fix it with high resolution or even with a little higher subdivisions like 128 or something. So yeah, that's probably it for a smoke material. Yeah, now you can see how it's going up afterwards, and it's staying pretty long in this case, so to make it disappear, and you can also see that in this preview mode it looks a lot better than it actually is. Don't really know why they did that, but yeah. You can actually, if I free the bake, I could add the dissolve time and put it to 3 or something. That would make it dissolve rather quickly, I think. So let me put it down to 60 again and quickly rebake it, and I will probably finish up the stream after that. So yeah, that you can use different simulation tools, but I've actually never tried to use something like Houdini or something to import my smoke into Blender, so I don't really know how it works, but for us the Blender method is fine, and it looks okay. So, oh, it already baked. So, yeah. Now you can probably see that in this view it disappears like instantly, but if we go into render it, we will still see it for some time, and now it's like, you can see how it is disappearing. To make it go up a little quicker, we can also do that. We will need to increase the temperature difference like 0.3, and let's do a quick rebake. So now if we play it, you can already see here that it's going up much quicker. So here also you can see it's going up a bit. And like I said, you can add a lot of force filters on it, so I've already included the turbulence, but you can also do things like add wind force field, just rotate it, and put it right here. Oh, and you can see now that I still have this 3D cursor selected, so just click here and put it back to individual origins. So, oh no, that's the one I wanted. So, if I would want some wind from this side, I would probably need to increase the domain in this direction, the size of the domain, and let's put that to like 10 or something. And now one thing I should mention is that these force fields are always affecting the particles and the smoke. So if you don't want that, like I'm in the moment, just go into the particle settings, for example, and turn down the wind. So it won't be affected by wind anymore. And if I now rebake the smoke simulation, hopefully you will see some effects. So yeah, let's rebake that. And now we can already see that the smoke is getting pushed over. Not much, just a little bit, but if we once again go into rendered mode, we can see that normally it would be in this area, and now it's already moved to the side a little bit, and now even more. So yeah, you get the point. You can do really a lot of creative things with that, and do a lot of cool stuff. And even if you don't know that much about 3D and VFX, you can experiment a lot, and in some time you will get something which looks really nice. So I think I will finish up the stream for today with that. Are there any more questions or anything I should show off now? Okay, so then I will probably finish the stream up now, and I will see you on another day. Bye!